So they fired the manager who was on vacation for the last week, who wasn't even there. They fired him because, hello, what's up, guys? I know it's been like a little over a year since I've made a video, but this video I have been wanting to make since I think January. Yeah, it's a letter that I am verbally writing to Starbucks. So first I want to say hello. I've missed you guys. I started a clothing company with my husband about mental health awareness as I suffered depression all my life basically, and so is he. And there's nowhere out there to that you can really talk about it. And there's hotlines you can call, but there's no mental health awareness face anywhere. So we wanted to create one. So that's what we've been doing, and we opened our store in Waikiki Beach here in Hawaii last November, and yeah, it's been really cool. So that's why I haven't been posting. Been working at the store every day, and it's definitely been a lot of work, but it's been really fulfilling for me. So I'm really happy that I've made this transition in my life. All right, dear Starbucks. I have it written out here, so if you see me looking off in the distance, it's because I have it typed out. It's a lot that I need to talk about that has really bothered me. So a quick backstory. Most of you guys probably know, but so I grew up poor, and then I lived a pretty, poor life most of my life, and then I was a server for several years when I moved to Florida. I'm originally from Indiana. When I moved to Florida, I was a server, so I made to me it was really good money. But then I moved to California, and I lived a really rich life. And so I didn't actually work for about 6 years. I just focused on my YouTube channel and those kind of things. Yeah, so I dated a successful person in the film industry, and I lived a really rich life, so I got to see a lot of things on that level, and it sort of made me realize a lot of things that are wrong with the world. If that, it's what's wrong with it, but once you experience the things that these people in the top get to experience, it's you realize how much wrong there is in the world. Anyway, I went through a breakup, and I also got married and changed my whole life around, really, because I was drinking a lot. And then we moved to Hawaii. We started our business to support mental health and help people with depression and that struggle, and very fulfilling for me, this transformation I've gone through. Where was I? So I needed a part-time job to supplement our income because we were spending everything we had to start our business, and that's obviously very difficult, especially when you don't have any money. And we had to work a lot, so we were basically working 7 days a week. All right, so I have the job at Starbucks. I'm a shift leader, so I get paid a little bit more than a barista, which is nice, but it's not very much. So yeah, okay. So I'm just trying to keep this organized, but it's so difficult. So as the months would roll on, I would work there 5, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. I would always pick up shifts that my manager would ask me to because I felt bad that they would be short-staffed. So I would literally pick up every single shift. I think I maybe wasn't able to pick up 1 or 2, and they would ask me every single week, a couple times a week. So I was working all the time, and I think until October of last year, I worked over 120 hours a month, which is 35 hours a week. So it was almost full-time on a part-time job that I was hired as part-time. They only have managers as full-time. I just felt bad. I didn't have to work that much, but I did feel bad when there wasn't anyone able to work, because I knew how stressful it was when you were short-staffed, especially there. So I definitely cared about everyone, and I wanted to make sure I was there. So I did. I also needed insurance, so I got insurance for me and my husband, and that cost $350 a month, which was crazy expensive for both of us. So that was like easily over half my paycheck, and so we didn't have hardly anything left over after that. So that was stressful in its own way. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You have to work 20 hours a month. No, wait. 20 hours, you have to work 80 hours a month to qualify for the insurance. But they don't tell you exactly what qualifies. So when I was hired, they just said, just make sure you get 20 hours a week and you're good. They didn't explain how it worked because it's not for the actual full month. It changes every month. So it's like, it was really confusing because even when I called, the person I talked to on the phone didn't know how the hours were calculated for that month. She had to ask her supervisor. So it was a very confusing process that they use, and they're not very clear, especially when you're hired, on how it works. So keep that in mind for later. Let's see. Okay, so when I was working there, the company always short-staffed us. And even though we were like meeting labor, or some half the time we were over labor, so it wasn't my manager's fault. But the company was like, your labor is too high, but when we were working, it was so stressful because our store was really busy, but we weren't allowed to have the people that we needed. So we always needed one more person than they would let us have because there were all these things that we had to do while we were busy. Especially me as a supervisor, like I had to do like storage counts, and I had to count food, and I had to pull food, and basically you couldn't be on the floor half the time, maybe more than half the time, and sometimes you only had two people, and it was really stressful. But still, it was the right amount of people for their labor. So yeah, that was a very stressful time, and especially during the holiday season, we were so crazy busy, and half the time we didn't have enough people on the schedule because of labor. And I know that the holiday season was just so busy, and we definitely needed more people than we were allowed to have. There were so many times that I was on bar by myself, which is where you make the drinks, and you've seen the TikToks. Like, some people make a list this long for their drink, and it's really, really hard to make all those ingredients and make sure you get them right. And a lot of people were doing complicated ones. They weren't like super long most of the time, but there were definitely really, really complicated drinks, and it became super stressful for one person. And then you have like people mobile ordering, and then people coming up to the store, and it was very overwhelming. So this is where it starts like, I could understand the labor thing because they want to save money and they care about money. They just care about the bottom line. So I understood that as a company. Like, I don't agree with it, but I understand. So I didn't focus too much on that. It was just, it made my life very difficult and stressful, and not something I agree with. But they are a company, so that's what they're driven by. This is where I got really upset at them, these next two things. So during, I think, half a year into my employment there, it was around August or September. All right, so the store across the street from us was one of the busiest stores in the country, and the manager there was on vacation. I think he was on 2 weeks. He had been gone like a week already, so he wasn't even at the store. One of the regional managers came into the store, and we have this, it's called a COVID checklist. It's basically, you you look on the iPad, you answer like a bunch of questions about if you feel sick or if you have a fever or any of the COVID symptoms. You answer if you have those or not, and then you have to check it off, and then the supervisor or manager, whoever's the one running the shift, has to sign off. So yeah, that's fine. You can do that. This was really, really kind of annoying because most of the people who get COVID don't have symptoms for several days, and by the time you have symptoms, you've already been passing it on to a ton of people. So this checklist that they made was really pointless because it didn't actually prevent anyone from getting it. Like, obviously, if you're sick, then you don't come to work. But there were still people at work getting COVID who like did the checklist. So it was just a pointless thing to me. And I was just like, I don't really see the point. Okay, so the store across the street, the regional managers come into that store and they they look at the COVID checklist because it's on a clipboard and you just pull it off, you can see all the names. So they counted all the names of the employees working and they made sure that there was enough names on the paper that matched the workers. And it was short by, I don't know, one or two. I'm not sure how many it was short, but it wasn't everyone. So what they did, and this is the worst part I've ever seen in a company, which really, oh my God, made me want to quit right then, was they fired, my camera keeps overheating. So they fired the manager who was on vacation for the last week, who wasn't even there. They fired him because the shift leaders at that store weren't filling out or signing off. And obviously sometimes it's crazy busy and you just forget because, we're all human and we make mistakes. And this wasn't like a warning. There wasn't like, oh, if you do this again, then, you'll get fired. This was just like straight up, oh, you're fired. And then they used that as leverage and sent out all these emails to all the other managers. And we're like, this is basically what's going to happen to you if you don't follow the rules and do exactly as we say. Like, your job doesn't, like, you don't matter to us because you're replaceable. And it was like the most evil thing I've ever seen a company that I worked for do to one of their employees. And this guy had been working as a manager there, I think, for over 10 years. And like, he really loved his job and he was super outgoing. And he was one of the people that trained me when I got hired earlier that year. So like, it really, really bothered me because I knew how much he did care about his job. I don't think anything happened to the people actually working who didn't fill out the checklist or sign it off. I'm pretty sure they just fired the manager, which is like, I don't know why you would do that. That's, and obviously they're just setting an example to instill fear into everyone else because they want to control them. And it's just like, oh my God, it made me so mad. So that happened. I think that was around August. Yeah, and it's just like such an inhumane thing to do. Like, obviously we're human, we make mistakes, but it's like, it's either you're a 1 or a 0. You're either on or you're off to them. And it's like, they'll just fire you no matter, and there's no leeway. No mistakes can be made. And, that's not what a human is, and that's not what compassion is. And if you are this wonderful company that really cares about your employees, and the checklist that you have them filling out doesn't actually work that well, why is it such a big deal? And especially he didn't even do it. He was on vacation. So it's like so many different things in combination just like really upset me about that. Okay, so here's the thing about the insurance. So you have to get 80 hours a month in order to continue having insurance. And throughout most of the country, if you don't get 80 hours in that month, you lose your benefits until the following year in October when they have the enrollment period. All right, I switched to my iPhone because that camera kept overheating and just kept ending the videos. I was getting tired of waiting for it to cool down, so I'm going to use my iPhone for the rest of this video. All right, so you have to keep 80 hours a month. They don't tell you exactly the process of accumulating those hours, and it's not very intuitive, and it doesn't say it on your paycheck. It doesn't say it really anywhere. They just told us, just get 20 hours a week, and that was it. Over several months while I was working there, I had been having stomach pains, and I was like wondering what this was because I've never had them before, and it was very concerning for me. So I went to the doctor, and they were trying to figure out what it was, and over months we were doing different tests and everything kept coming back normal, which is great. But then we did a stool sample, and that told me that I had H. pylori bacteria, which is very common bacteria that I don't know, half the world has or something, but it doesn't show very many symptoms. So it's not something that most people treat, I guess. So yeah, so I had that. And then my husband had also been having stomach pains. So we thought, oh, maybe he has the same thing. So this was, I think, December 2nd or first or second. He calls the doctor's office. So our doctor office is it's all done through the insurance company. So it's Kaiser, and they have like the doctor's office, they have x-ray machines, they have the labs, the blood work, the pharmacy. It's all in the same building, so all is connected together. So you don't have to go different places for anything. So he calls to make an appointment. As you know, we're paying $350 a month for this insurance for both of us. Super, super expensive. And they tell him, oh, you don't have insurance anymore. So we're a little confused. We're like, oh, why is that? I have a hint in my head because we had just opened our store and we had our grand opening a couple weeks before. So I needed to take a few days extra off that month. So we had our grand opening. It was November 20th that we opened. I call Starbucks. I'm like, so they tell us we don't have insurance. And they're like, oh yeah, you don't. You only worked 76.4 hours or something last month. So you lost your insurance because you missed your hourly thing that you're supposed to get. Apparently, the days that they were supposed to count didn't count. So, because I worked like a Sunday for 6 hours, and that Sunday didn't count as part of my hours because that's the month. It was still in the month, but it wasn't counted as part of the month. So yeah, and that stressed me out a lot. So it just like really upset me that they canceled both of our insurance, and especially with all the hours and all the hard work and picking up all the shifts every single time that somebody asked for me to pick up their shift. I always said yes. And I felt like, you know, I was part of the company. It's like, but then they had no leeway. Like, it's not a law that you have to get 80 hours a month. It's just what they set. And I had been getting 120 hours a month that entire year, with the exception of that month. And for them to like have no leeway, especially with its 4 hours, it's like that really like hurt me and like really upset me. Because if you care, like you have, like you portray, you on these everywhere online, all your advertisements, you're like, oh, we love the community, we love our partners, like you call us partners. And it's just like, no, you don't care. That's like you really don't care. You lie to get people to like you, and the truth is you don't care. So there's nothing I could do about it. I had to wait the entire month. If I wanted Cobra, I could have insurance, but that was almost $1,000. I think it was like $950, and we definitely didn't have money to pay for that because we were already struggling with running our business and paying our rent because Hawaii is really, really expensive. So we definitely couldn't afford that. So we had to go without insurance for a month. And that was that was a difficult month. The December was so hard for me, which I'll talk about here in a second. So back to the thing. So I got my bacteria figured out. I figured out what it was. So when I got to the pharmacy, they at least let me pick up my prescription that the doctor had made for me, but they made me pay full price. So in addition to cutting off my insurance, I also had to pay full price for a prescription that I had already gotten while I had insurance. And then if James, my husband, wanted to be seen or tested, he would have to go to a new doctor who wasn't in that building because they only take insurance. You can't you can't just pay to go there. It's insurance only. So we would have had to go to a new doctor, get a new test, do all these things, and it would cost easily over $1,000. So we were just like, okay, so we're not going to do that, obviously. Yeah, so I get the antibiotics, and they're like awful. It takes like 2 weeks, I think, that I had to be on them, or like 20 days. I don't know, it was a lot. They're like really strong. So, but anyway, I got rid of that. That was stressful. Sorry, I know this video is long, but there's a lot of things that I want to talk about my experience, and I think it's really important to discuss them in depth. Now I want to talk about the holiday season. So it's the holiday season. It's crazy busy. They don't offer us anything extra during this time, and it's the same. And it's just like the line is way out the mall. We were still understaffed. There were more people working during those times, but it was like so much busier that we still needed one more person, which we couldn't have. So it just made it horrible. Half the time during this holiday season, we still had the same number of people working as if it was back in August or September, and the line was like crazy out the mall, and it was like we definitely need more people, and everyone in that store was really stressed. It was so difficult to work, and people would be getting complicated drinks, and it was just like so overwhelming. And especially if there was only one person on the bar making drinks, it was so hard. I wanted to cry so many times when I was on bar, especially by myself. And I was on bar by myself a lot while it was busy. And it was just like, I just could barely take it. It was that bad. It's just the amount of pressure. And then you have all the customers like asking you where their drinks are and asking you how long it's going to be, and then where their name is. And you have to look their name. And it's like 10 drinks down the line. And it's just like, it's not a pleasant environment to be in. So to put the icing on the cake, I was told after a year of working there, I would get stocks in the company because they care about us and they want us to be their partners. And that's their thing, is they give their partners stock. So I'm told after a year, I'll have stocks in the company. I get a letter in the mail in December, middle of December. That was, I think, I worked there from March, so 9 months after I'd been working there. I get a letter saying that in 3 months I will have, this much stock. It wasn't very much. I think it was like $200 or $300. So it was like something, but it wasn't a lot. The only way to get it is that I would get it in the year of my employment. So it would be March of this year, 2022. And this is what made me so mad. They said in the letter, you have to vest it for another 6 months, and you have to stay employed with the company for another 6 months. Otherwise, you lose everything that we put in there for you. So they lie about you working there for a year to get stocks, because you actually have to work there for a year and a half in order to get stocks. They're so sneaky, and it's just such a deceiving way to get people to work for you, because most people don't read the fine print, and it's just like this huge long thing. And thankfully I read the fine print. I read the fine print on almost everything that I do. Most people after a year, they're going to be like, oh, I'm so excited, I can take out this stocks that they gave me, or I can sell them, or if I need money for food, I could sell my stocks after a year. But no, if they try to do that, I'm sorry, you can't. You have to wait 6 more months, and you have to stay employed here 6 more months. There's no reward for working for you for a year that you claim in the beginning when we're hired. And it's not told. Like, if this was like told to me when I was first employed there, that, oh, you don't get it for a year and a half, then that would be a different story. But it's claimed that you get it at a year. And it's just so many lies and deceit that really, really bothers me about this company. And again, I wrote, does that really sound like a company who really cares about their employees and is a wonderful company to work for? And this is a question for you guys. Would you do the things that I've mentioned in this video that they've done to me and to that manager and the other things? Would you do those things to your partner, your actual partner, the person you love and who you're with? Because that is what a partner is. It is somebody that you genuinely, truly care about. And that is why they're called your partner. And that is what they call us, which I quit, but that is what they call them. I forgot to mention the biggest thing that made me quit. Oh my God, there's just so much to this. Okay, so while I was working that 2 months, November, December, I was opening a store, creating my own business with my husband. We'd been working farmers markets for the whole year, so we were basically working 7 days a week. It was very stressful. But those holiday seasons were so bad that at the end of December, I told my manager, hey, I need 2 weeks off because this has been so stressful, and I just need a mental health break if that's okay. She said, yeah, that's fine. I just have to get it approved from the regional management, which I've never heard of a part-time employee having to get their like leave approved, especially if like we have enough people to cover your shifts. I've never heard that before. Only full-time employees have to get things approved. They send me a letter. They send me like 3 or 4 letters. It's really weird. I got a letter like every few days for like a week or two. And they said, sorry, your leave request has been denied. And if you take this leave, you may be subject to being fired, basically. And it was like, what? Especially this company that is so mental health based. I asked for a mental health break. I had to fill out, like, when I applied for it, I had to fill out this form, and I was like, the holidays were extremely stressful for me. I need a mental health break because it's, I just need a break. And they said no. They told me no. And they said, if you take this break, you'll be fired, basically. So that was when I decided to quit, after they did that to me, because I would never work for somebody who says one thing and lies about it and does another, because that is the icing on the cake, was that. Starbucks, you are evil and you really deeply hurt me, like, more than anything. And from all the tens of thousands of dollars that I've spent at your stores throughout my life, I'm embarrassed that I've just now learned about all these things, that your twisted ways. It's just like the worst. It's one of the worst feelings, that because it's like I cared about you so much, and then I learned that, oh, you're a liar. And it's like, okay, so you're not actually what you claim to be. And that really hurt me. Really, like, I guess annoyed me is that they're making like hundreds of millions more during this holiday season. I don't know how much more they're making, but I know it's like 10 times more because there's so many people. And it's just like, if you really cared about your employees, like you say you do, because that's what your whole thing is about, is that you care, then you would give us something for all the extra hard work that we are putting in, to make your company, and to be, kind to the customers, and to just be that glowing light that you want us to be. Like, you maybe would give everyone, a bonus or something for if the store did something, like even if it was like 1%, to show that you do care, at least a little bit. But they didn't do anything. I did see this thing about them paying their CEO 20 million, which is a 39% increase. And then I think my raise was around 60 cents, which was only 4%. So for the CEO to get a 39% raise and then us to get 4 sounds, kind of like not fair. But, that's just how companies who only care about money drive. That's just how they are. And then so I realized, oh, okay, so you aren't this wonderful company. You just act like you are. So you're just like McDonald's. You're just like Amazon. You just have this facade that you've created, that this whole world believes that you're this great company, but in reality, you're not. You're just like all the other ones. I guess I'm trying to say that we have lost this importance to what it's like, to what being a human is. And it's this race for money and to just stockpile it. And, when is too much, and, it's just greed, and it's just selfishness. And, it's like, oh, I have 20 million. I want 20 million more because I want to buy 5 more houses. Like, it's just so, like, we're just going about everything the wrong way. And everyone at the top, they just want these bigger bank accounts, and they'll push everyone at the bottom as hard as they have to push them, and squeeze every little penny that they can get out of every person to make their bank accounts so much bigger. And it just creates this chaotic tension that it's not a good place or environment, or it's not fair either. It's just a horrible world to live in. These like rich people, like CEOs, they get to go around and, working class, and That's not a fun environment to be around, because you're with these people who don't make very much money and they're not happy. So you're also around people who aren't happy. So it's just like you're putting yourself in that environment that you've created. And nobody wants to, if they're happy, then, when you go out around, you want to be with people who are happy. And by doing these things that all these companies do, it creates such a horrible world to live in for everyone, including them. And it's just something that I guess they don't understand, or they don't care about, or they, it's just the greed. They just care about their bank account balance and what they can buy. And that's it. If we would pay these people who are the heart and soul of our company what they actually deserve, the world, they would be so much happier. The world would be happier. The people at the top would be happier. They just wouldn't realize it, because when you give something, it's such a great feeling, especially when you hear the stories about how you're changing people's lives. Like, it is a really wonderful feeling. And once you can get over the greed aspect that you have been so accustomed to and has been driven inside you since you were a kid, like it was driven in me all through my childhood. Oh, we're gonna be rich. I want to do all these things when we're rich. And I was like, yeah, that's what I want. And then I finally got it, and I was like, oh, but that doesn't actually bring happiness. Being rich is nice. You can do many things which are amazing, and I miss having money like that. But I also wasn't happy when I had money. So I was happy, like, obviously I was happy parts of it. All right, so I wrote this. You don't need to buy another house on top of your 12 you already own. Let someone else have some joy in their life. How often are you going to go to those 12 houses? It wasn't until I realized, like, this chase for money that it's mainly my dad that did this. And he always talked about money growing up. He wanted to be rich, and he was going to buy all these things for us. And it was like, that's all it was. It was just money, money, money. So that was kind of like ingrained in me. And then once I actually experienced what having money was, yes, it was wonderful. It was like you could do whatever you wanted. And that was really cool. But at the same time, I was still depressed. And I felt the same inside as I feel now. I wasn't a different person. It was still me. It was just me inside. And it was just like, you can't really understand it until you experience it. It's our experiences that, change, how we feel and who we are. It's not, and the experience itself doesn't have to be money based. Like, you can have many experiences, just being with someone who cares about you is an experience. If you've watched my previous videos, you would see I used to be so proud of this company, and I would carry their drink around in like every video I made, and I would make Instagram stories about how wonderful and how much I loved them and how awesome they were, and how I had to have my Starbucks every day. And it was just like this routine, and it was just like this feel good feeling that I got. And then I worked there, and I found out the horribleness of this. All right, guys, so that is my video. I know it's quite incredibly long. If you want to see some of the mental health stuff we're actually working on that we really do care about, we are not just saying we care about, because I care a lot about helping people get better and talking about their feelings. And yeah, so I'll leave a link to our company in the description. It's just We Are Dark. If you want to go to our website, wearedark.net. And yeah, you can check out our store. We're in Waikiki Beach at the Hyatt Regency Hotel next to Urban Outfitters. It's been a really cool journey starting this company and finding my purpose, because I felt lost for many years, and I was depressed for a long time. And when I met my husband, he was depressed as well, but we both brought out the best in each other, and we figured out what our purpose in life is, and we're still figuring it out, but I found the light at the end of the tunnel that I thought was gone for so long. So it's been really nice. It's been really difficult though, finding myself again. And but I'm finally I'm overcoming the depression that I was in. So that's great. And it's like, one other really cool thing is I've always wanted to be a writer. And then during coronavirus, as you guys know, I wrote the book about my life. And then I added science fiction to the beginning and the end. And then at the end, it tells the future. And now I'm writing a second book, which is completely fiction, which tells the future about after that. So it's like, I'm doing this thing I've wanted to do my whole life. And it's like, being creative has helped me overcome a lot of my mental battles that I've been going through. And I'm halfway done with the second one. So I'm really, really excited. So yeah, it's turning out amazing. Very, very proud of myself. So yeah, so that's it for this video. Yeah, I will never work for Starbucks again, ever. They're a horrible company. And honestly, I would rather have worked at McDonald's. I mean, honestly, they're a horrible company too, but at least they don't lie about it, because you know they're not good. I have a new pathway that I want to take my channel down. I think some really cool things that you guys are going to like. I've really changed my whole life around, and I really want to help people. So that is going to be the future of my channel. So, all right, we'll talk to you guys later, and leave some comments below if you've had some experiences working at Starbucks or being a customer there. And if you thought they were a good company, and after this video, what do you think? Do you still think they're a good company? You know, tell me your thoughts, because I definitely would love to hear all of them. So, all right, we'll talk to you guys later, and I promise it will not be as long for the next video. All right.